Welcome everybody to this first dialogue series. It's the Data and Knowledge Dialogue series we start on. We have a whole number of them this spring. My name is Bente Liljaby. I am a member of the GEO Data and Knowledge Working Group. And with me today, I have Marie-Françoise as co-host, and behind the sticks is Kalamkas Yesimkanova, which is doing this from the GEO Secretariat. Please mute your microphones while you are not given the floor, and I think we solved that problem right now. We are embarking on a very interesting journey. We are going to transform or develop some implementation guidelines, both for the open data, open knowledge statement, and we are also in this series going to do the same for the in situ data strategy. So today we will start to remind you a little bit about the work and the processes of GEO so far to inspire you to contribute to this process to develop the new guidelines. We have invited two speakers from the GEO community, Ken Mubea and Rick Lawford, and after introduction to the topic, to the theme, we will give them the floor to inspire us further. So with no further ado, this is recorded, obviously, and the presentation will be made available, all of it, on the GEO Knowledge Hub, as per usual. And we are encouraging you to participate in the chat. Please let us know where you're from, perhaps which part of the GEO program and work program you are also representing. But any exchange, any engagement from you are highly appreciated. And we will tell you more how to engage further with us during this dialogue. Yeah, the title of this particular dialogue is, of course, Advancing Open Knowledge to Earth Intelligence. Ultimately, this will be also a part of the implementation of the Earth Intelligence for All strategy. So it's Marie-Françoise Badreau and myself. Yeah, Marie-Françoise, thank you. She has been a member of this GEO community for a long time now. She has a background from Météo France, more than 30 years, imagine that. And the latest part of her professional life. Well, no, I'm sorry, Marie-Françoise, you are still a professional, but the latest part you were at OGC, Open Geospatial Consortium, working with standards. And she has been involved in numerous EU projects and a dedicated advocate for all things GEO. And myself, I'm also been a part of the GEO community actually even before the beginning. I was part of the formation of GEO and has been involved in many different capacities and many different parts of the GEO activity. I am also enthusiastic about data sharing and open knowledge sharing as well. Currently, I'm working on digital twins and the further development of Destination Earth, a European initiative developing nothing less than a digital version, a digital twin of the Earth. So I'm still dedicating a lot of time to this working group. So the two of us, we will switch a little bit now, giving you an update and a reminder of what we have been doing. Formally, GEO was not started in 2003, but the first initiative was taken then, and it was worked out. The plans for GEO was worked out through 3 Earth summits. It's called the Ad Hoc GEO, so that was in 2003. And then the result were a couple of documents. It was the Global Earth Observation System of Systems, GEO's reference document, and the first strategy. And in that first, since the very beginning, in that strategy, the open data sharing principles were included. Now, this was in 2005, and in 2015, we not only renewed the open data sharing principles, we even enhanced them by saying that open data should the data should be open by default. And then we also had the introduction of the first 10 data management principles, as you see here: discoverability, accessibility, encoding, documentation, provenance, quality control, preservation, verification, review and processing, and identifiers. So we were quite early in this. We made then the GEO, it was a new GEO strategy as well, as you saw, for implementing GEOs. That was in 2015. So those are some of the key milestones. And in the next one, Marie-Françoise,
yes,
it's yours.
So from the strategy in 2015, documents have been published on the value of open data sharing, and you have here the links of where you can find the documents on the GEO Knowledge Hub. And the group went further, writing some data management principles, implementation guidelines to support the community to implement the principles in a homogeneous way, and clarifying the understanding and helping, because we know we are in a complex environment. We also did software to help assess the compliance to these principles, and several videos to understand how to implement these principles. And you can find all this on the Knowledge Hub. These data management principles have been instrumental to support the community. And this is why, since then, we have upscaled these principles of sharing data towards open knowledge. So this goes beyond data, because you can see the different strategies to develop open knowledge, and open data is part of it, but we can see that there are much more approaches to go beyond just sharing data. And in 2023, GEO has published the strategy Earth Intelligence for All. So how can we move from this open knowledge to the Earth Intelligence for All? This is the topic of the webinar. And in fact, we have, as we had before, a theoretical document on the principles. And what we want to work on is these guidelines, implementation guidelines, in the same way that it was done for the data management principles. We already have some videos where we invited some speakers to help understand how open knowledge can apply to GEO in practice. And now what we want to do with this new series is really to go towards this document, to create a document that is useful and usable by the community. So again, the different open knowledge principles are open science, open access, citizen and participatory science, open data, open reproducible research, open software, open infrastructure, open hardware, open education, open evaluation, and diversity of knowledge. Open data is partly covered by the previous implementation guidelines, but since then, we also decided to put a specific focus on in situ. Why? Because in situ is presenting a certain amount of challenges, and in 2025 we have written a GEO in situ strategy that has been endorsed by the ExCom and should be presented at the next symposium, end of May, to be endorsed by the full GEO community. And we want to work also on an in situ implementation guidelines. So this will complete the open knowledge as a specific guidelines for in situ that present specific challenges. Everything we already have, so this strategy, and we want to work on these guidelines. We already have some tools to support the implementation of the strategy. And we have also here some webinars, and all the resources are published on the GEO Knowledge Hub. So we have strong foundations. We have the data sharing, data management principles, the open knowledge statement, the in situ strategy, and we have all these past onboarding webinars and dialogues. And here you have the links to the onboarding webinar videos where we explain all that about the past and how we have progressed. Now we want to co-design the tracks to move from open knowledge statement to the Earth Intelligence for All, thanks to the implementation guidelines. So this work is of interest for all this profile of stakeholders. It can be data providers, knowledge providers, in situ experts, AI experts, because we also want to assess the impacts of AI. It can be experts about the infrastructure, because you know that the infrastructure is under major renovation with the Geo Knowledge Hub. The national geos that pop up also in the last years and that are very important for in situ. The regional geos that help coordinate at regional level, and it's very meaningful to coordinate with a hierarchy of geographical extents like that. The geo community youth, indigenous populations, and other global or regional intergovernmental organizations. From here, maybe Bent, I let you present our speakers and what we are going to focus on today.
Yes, so first up is Kenneth Mubea, Ken, and he has been also very actively supporting GEO's work for a very long time. He is the capacity development lead in Digital Earth Africa, and he's both including, supporting technical work and user engagement. And he's driving a lot of the activities in Digital Earth Africa services. And I think, Ken, that you can add more updated information about your activities if you want. And then I give the floor to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and it's a pleasure to be at this important workshop. I had shared my slides with us. And from Digital Africa side, it has been a very good experience to be aligned with the GEO program. We started small and now we are currently an initiative of GEO, and also alignment with other GEOs, especially AfriGeo, where we have Penina is here at Regional Center for Mapping, where we work closely with them. So bringing the understanding from Digital Africa is that our program is powered by partnerships. All the data sets, they are hosted on Amazon Web Services, and we are leveraging on the Open Data Cube technology. So when we go to the next slide now, it's just to give our understanding of how our program works. We had it launched in the year 2019, and we are working with partners across the continent. And with these amazing partners, we've been able to develop some continental services, which are very key. And all these are also following these particular guidelines because we have a lot of validation with partners. Then now in the next slide, it's just to give our understanding of our principles and how especially we support these principles in terms of open data. The Digital Africa program itself, it's for the public good, providing free and open data, and also providing all the documentation. The continental services that we already have, almost 6, 7, or 8, we've done a lot of co-development with our implementing partners across the continent. Then also we developed our online training resources from the year to 2020, and this has been through co-development with partners, providing what is fit for purpose in the continent. Then further, we have some programs with some of the universities across the continent where our work has been able to complement some of the learning curriculum. So going now to the next slide is just to provide more of our understanding in terms of open science, that we provide all the documentation to all the algorithms that we use and publish. And also further on the same, we put some of our work, the Geo Knowledge Hub, in terms of providing open access. And we actually have been documenting some of the notebooks algorithms with Geo Knowledge Hub, especially when we have new ones, so that at least we have our information shared in other portals, which are very useful to reach the global community. Then in terms of citizen science, we did a lot of validation of our key products, especially the water observation from space, which we developed with Landsat. But we had to work with our key partners in the continent, special mention to Agreement in Niger, Afrigis in Nigeria, CSC in Senegal, OSS in Tunisia, and RCMAD covering Eastern Southern Africa. And also the data sets that we provide, this is the satellite data from the open access from Landsat, from the USGS. We provide the Landsat 5, 7, 8, and 9. actually provide it now in analysis ready data so that we enable our end users to just access the data that they get instant information. Then from the European side, we have data from the European Space Agency, Sentinel-1, 2, and currently we're indexing 3. And also we are also considering adding Sentinel-5P to support air quality. Then our work has been reproduced in terms of research, because then we collaborate with other portals. Knowledge Hub, we have the Africa Geo portal, and even at some of our institutions, we partner with like the Regional Center for Mapping, RCMRD. They also have their portal where they connect with some of our data and some of their projects. The platform is based on Open Data Cube technology, which itself it's an open software. And from the work we've done at Digital Africa, we've learned from Digital Earth Australia, where it's our parent host, who started their work earlier 2017. And from Digital Africa, we've been able now to have Digital Earth Pacific in the Vanuatu, small islands. And also we have other aspects of Open Data Cube, like the Swiss Data Cube. So infrastructure, we provide all the access and algorithms, like the GitHub, providing all the repositories. In terms of education, we provide the free online platform, and also we provide free service in terms of providing online training, and sometimes face-to-face whenever we have all sponsorships are agreed on. And also we have a mentorship program that we've run. We started with the Africa Women in GIS the year 2021-2022, where we were able to run some of their mentorship programs. Then we had the Youth Mappers, where we connected very well with Letwin and her group in Zimbabwe. And the Youth Mappers in Africa were amazing, because even some of them were collaborating with others from the other continents. A special case of Mozambique, where they were working with people in Brazil. So it gives us a very good that diversity and inclusion. And also in terms of language, we currently support English and French. And recently we've embarked on translating one of the online module into Portuguese and Arabic with our partner in South Africa. Then in the next slide, just to highlight, because of the limited time we have, this was just an explanation of the logic that the satellite data now is in analysis ready format, which is very key, that our partners can access it through our platform, or they can access it through the APIs, web map services, etc. And then we provide all the trainings for everyone in the continent. Then in the next slide, just giving you a summary that when we are able to access our platform, you'll be able to see the section on the platform, free access, and access to these particular services, and all the analysis ready data, as well as other parts of the platform like the learning, where I will be able to show you the next slide. Then we provide the GeoKnowledge Hub. They are providing the data sets. We are providing all the information. We're able to, whenever we add some of the algorithms, we're able to index them on the GeoKnowledge Hub. This is very nice because we now become more of a global. Then in the next slide, we'll be able to show you now our learning platform. We have over 18 courses because English and French. We started small initially with the introduction course, which was a very good learning. It was in English. Later, we were able to translate it to French, and doing a lot of validation with our partners. Then, as I mentioned, this particular month, by March, we'll be having a module which now will be available in 4 languages, including Portuguese and Arabic, which will be a very good a showcase for the diversity for the whole world. Then in the next slide, just the summary of some of our diversity and inclusion, the amazing work Letwin and group are doing across the continent. And also in the next slide, just a summary final that we are able to connect with all partners, especially in the events, geo seminars, webinars, workshops, even with AfriGeo. And also we support the innovation challenges, especially our horizontal one with the Africa Earth Observation Challenge, which is a very continental program, which was started earlier in 2015 in South Africa, and it's been global ever since then. Then we have our work connected with other portals so that we leave no one and no place behind. In summary, the next slide just gives an acknowledgement of our partners, especially the Helmsley Trust in the US and also the government who also supported the program. Then finally, just how you can connect with us. There's a QR code in the final slide. And I wish to invite you to unlock the promise of tomorrow together with us so that we leave no one behind. So in the QR code, if you're able to scan, we'll be able to connect with you. And also, I thank the GEO for this opportunity. Thank you, Benti and Marie.
Thank you so much, Ken. Absolutely impressive what you have done or are doing in Africa, Digital Earth Africa and beyond. Can I so what the way I just do a first comment, what it looks like you are actually showing us examples of what you have done in order to implement the open knowledge statement. So that will be an inspiration for us in the discussion. Can you stay with us even with 3 kids in the car, Ken? Or should we try to have a dialogue with you right now?
I was struggling to keep them at bay, so we'd rather have it now.
Yeah, okay. Yes, because what I would like to ask is then if you have made some reflections on what kind of guidelines would be helpful for you. You know GEO quite well, so and you have been part of this, our development in the data knowledge working group for a long time already. But are there any things that come to mind that could help others follow your lead, so to speak?
I think what we've learned so far from GEO is to learn from what has been implemented and looking at the previous strategy from 2015 and also looking at what we've been having in the continent in Africa. There's been a lot of talk about spatial data infrastructure because most of these countries, they don't know where to start. And having a platform like Digital Africa has helped some of these countries. Looking at the previous work I did when I was at the UN Foundation, piloted in 5 countries, we were able to be put in a dialogue where the governments are actually thinking about, a portal for their data, for governance. So we've seen when you lead in terms of providing the open data, now the governments and citizens are now focused on the modalities, methodologies of other institutions coming on board, and also they're able to secure the right funding for the particular activities. More so, the empowering of the use cases based on what we have is that also we share some of our work with all these partners. We are looking also other parts of the continents that they're able to learn from what has worked, providing an open data. There has been questions of risks. Why should you cost it? But once you make it open, you realize actually people actually improve on it. This is a case in point looking at USGS, whom we had to download the data from them to put it in analysis ready format to host it in our platform in AWS. So over time, they also thought, why not make it in analysis ready format? And this is in support of the work CEOs has been doing. So we've been finding ourselves being in the right time, the right dialogue. This is the right time. This is the right last decade of action, empowering the countries, the decisions. And even in the continental services, we've seen an aspect of citizen science where now the government's actually participating without need of any cost or bias because they see the value of how it would improve their existing plans, or where even they're asked by a donor, do you have this? Then they're like, let's go to the Digital Africa Coastline Service and we can start from there. This was case in point in Senegal, where there was already a project on West African coast covering 8 countries, and our partner in Senegal was like, this platform has come at the right time. And, they've been able to do some work already, and they can now the work from Senegal is being piloted in other countries, and they actually have to come to this and learn from this and realize open platforms, open knowledge, open science, even open learning resources. This is the key that will help the countries work together, especially on the SDG 17 on the partnerships.
So it's very impressive, and it's very inspiring to hear that actually having good examples is functioning. But I think that's definitely something that we will take into account when we are now developing the guidelines. Marie-Françoise, you have your hand raised.
Yes, very impressive presentation, Kenneth. Thank you. Well, first, I would like to say to the audience that we call that a dialogue because you are very welcome to talk with our experts and with us to help us co-design and shape what document, what support we can bring to the community, and you are part of it to help implement this open knowledge. So this was a very impressive presentation where you did a clear assessment at a regional level in Africa of where you are on open knowledge. But as we said, and you mentioned also it, the regional level is a connection to the national level. And do you think that an assessment tool as we did for the data management principles, but for the open knowledge to help the regional level assess for each national level where they are in relation to open knowledge could be useful? I mean, would it help to advocate and help people review regularly where they are quite advanced and where they should do efforts to go towards open knowledge in a more homogeneous way at the regional level? I don't know if I
Thank you.
was clear.
Yes, you were clear, and I was very happy with the question because it's addressing what we have through the regional geos like AfriGeo, and through the AfriGeo, we have a very good learning that AfriGeo started in South Africa, where now we already have a national geo in South Africa, and it has really matured now into the third, fourth, fifth year. We are having something called community of practice. And from that, we even downscaled the geoknowledge hub that we have for a geoknowledge hub for South Africa so that we can actually know what other stakeholders are doing and minimize this duplication of efforts where everyone has to develop their own data and realize we can all work together in one ecosystem. So with the experience of South Africa Geo, this one has gone now to the Kenya Geo, where we already have the Kenya Space Agency leading a community of practice, and they are also looking around the open data knowledge, bringing a platform where the governments will save more time and focus now on decision making, and possibly also they are looking at a data center somewhere. But all this, we are telling them, if you do all the work in the cloud, we can actually minimize many opportunities. So South Africa National Geo has led to Kenya Geo learning something. And recently at the AfriGeo we had in Senegal last year, October, we are having talks for Senegal Geo, where we'll be bringing more stakeholders. And this one is very nice because it's led by government, so that at least other stakeholders like the private sector can see how to support, and also the donors. And I think in this year we have in the pipeline the Nigeria Geo even hosting the Geo for the AfriGeo for this year to showcase some of the work they're doing at the Nigeria space. This occurring at the same time, we also have the Africa Space Agency, which was set up last year, and also some of the mandates they have through the European Union Africa partnership is to bring and harmonize all these things together. So there's a lot of synergy, and this will be like more of what we have with ESA for Europe. These open data well developed at continental level, downscale at national, but also we'll be sharing the experience of what we have, at least from the 4 or 5, because also Egypt is in the pipeline. However, the regions, they suffer from the problem of language barrier. Like in West Africa, everything is in French, in Southern in English, but then you could be having the case of Angola and Mozambique, where it's Portuguese, and in North Africa is more of Arabic. But you'll see most of our text is in English, which they're really left out. So we are looking at ways of harmonizing, possibly through the Africa Space Agency, so that all these countries can be learning from what has worked in one country, but also not leaving GEO, because the amazing work done by GEO over the years since 2003 is amazing.
That's good to know that this will be that the discussion we had, Marie-Françoise, of involving even deeper the national geos is meaningful. And as following up on what you said, Marie-Françoise, encouraging now the audience to ask Ken questions while he is here. You can take the floor, or you can ask your question. If you are a little bit shy, you can also ask your question in the chat. Yeah, so Ken is now providing contact information if you want to write him directly.
So just looking at the South Africa implementation of the Knowledge Hub, we could see that you structure that in terms of SDGs or thematic domains. If we write on implementation guidelines, do you think that this should be the driver, or or should these still be the principles and then see if there are some specificities by domains? Because we want to connect this provider side, so open knowledge, to the Earth intelligence. So we are in this matrix approach, and I don't know if the implementation guidelines, if they should be structured probably by type of approaches, open software, open data, and then check if there are some specificities by domain. What do you think?
Most for the case of South Africa, it was more thematic. Now we have the groupings, like the community of practice. We have 5 of them. We have a group in human settlements, urban health. There is one on water, so it's more thematic. Previously, the idea was around SDGs, but the governments are saying we just have like 4 years to the end of the SDGs. Then last year when it was launched, we were really happy because South Africa was hosting the G20, so we really had to show something. It was more of a high level from the Department of Science and Innovation to showcase really where we are. And also with time as the world goes, more thematic areas will be something of the priority for most of the countries. Because you're looking at their vision agendas, and what we've seen with the different political changes every 5 or 10 years, they are more around the thematic areas, and the key problems in the continent being water and agriculture and food security. Here is where you can get more of traction. Looking at what we've developed continentally, our first product was on the water, and we really got a lot of support and decision making. The second one was something on food security, where we have to really align with FAO because they're the custodians of these particular indicators. So more of a thematic areas so that we can actually even put in the drive for extra funding from the development partners who more keenly will support anything which is more thematic area.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya, because it also underlines the importance for us to adapt to the regional perspectives and even the national perspectives. So I think we need to be agile. And some perspectives will work nicely in one region and not in another, etc. So that was a very good experience to share. Yes, Kalamkas, you were raising your hand.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Kalamkas. I'm a GEO Knowledge Hub content curator, and I just wanted to add to what already Kenneth said about the link that I shared for the South African National GEO Knowledge Hub. The approach was also in the way that we want to design and provide the content that is related to specific country and for the specific challenges that that country were facing. Because yes, we have the same environmental challenges like climate change is everywhere happening, but how it is affecting to specific region and design the content for specific that region. So this was one of the main ideas how this National GEO Knowledge Hub was developed. This is just to complement what already Kenneth said. Thanks.
Oh, thank you for that, Kalamkas. Very good point. I also want to acknowledge and highlight actually what you said, Ken, that you are in terms of diversity of knowledge, you have worked on different languages. And I think that's a good example that also will enable, as you said, Kalamkas, that you actually adapt to the local circumstances. And language is an important part of that. And as we know, languages are reflecting the cultural and the natural state of where they are being used to a large extent. Just an example from Greenland these days, we have the word for snow is plentiful. There are so many words for snow in the Greenland language, but not so much in other places with less snow. And those words are carrying a lot of knowledge, right? So I think in the language itself is carrying a lot of language, is not knowledge, not only the fact that you reach more people with, you know, a better understanding of what is being said. So thank you very much for highlighting that perspective also, Ken. I think we will take note of that for the follow-up. Okay, do I see more hands now? No? Comments? Marie-Françoise, you had another comment here, or is that old? No, it's fresh.
Well, it's just that I understand that we have 3 potential indexes for the implementation guidelines. That can be the open knowledge principles, the thematics, or the regional scale.
Yes, very good. Okay, now we are moving from Africa to the other side of the European region as well, to Canada, and Rick Lawford. So just introducing you very briefly, Rick, that you have been working on with water and for many, many years, and you have been involved in GEO also for many, many years. And the food, energy, and water nexus has been also one of your babies. And you have worked a lot. And what I want to highlight that you have worked a lot with developing strategies under the GEO umbrella. And I think we will pick your brain a little bit later on that specific topic as well. So, Rick, the floor is yours. Let's hear what your thoughts are.
Yes, as Bente has pointed out, we've known each other for a long time. And I guess my beginnings of working on GEO-related activities goes back to the IGOS partnership and the development of a water theme within the IGOS partnership, which was ported over into GEO when GEO formed, and the work plan for GEO. So I'm going to try to give you a few thoughts about the future role of an ODOC system for GEO. This is based in part on some experience that we've had through our Earth Observations for Water, Energy, Food Nexus pilot, which is looking at how we can use Earth observations and a range of issues that affect water, energy, and food security in an integrated way. Some of the applications that we're pursuing within this context include resource assessments. This is for the US CONUS primarily. Researching development of agrivoltaics in particular. Planning, looking at spring runoff for hydro and getting estimates of snowmelt in mountains in Sweden. Protecting, and in this case, we have a project that's being approved, but not necessarily funded for the Mississippi River Basin, and looking at pollutant transport within the Mississippi River Basin. And finally, water management in the Mekong with a Chinese project in the upper part of the Mekong. And then we are also looking at information services and platforms that we would like to develop for specific user communities. It sounds like you would have a lot of resources in order to carry this out, but in actual fact, that's the major constraint in our activities is acquiring the resources we need in order to do it. So let's take a look at what a GEO-ODOC system might look like and how you might want to go about enthusing the community about it. This is an example from Wikimedia where they're advertising their open knowledge system. And they're saying that what their open knowledge system is it's unbiased information freely available to everyone. But it's not just everything. It advocates for open knowledge and free access at organizational, sectoral, and public policy levels. And this would also dictate the type of knowledge that's being used and being collected. So I think that would be a good exercise for GEO to go through and say, what type of knowledge is it that we're really wanting to pursue in open knowledge? Do we want to become a Wikipedia for the world, or do we want to focus on our specialization? And I think clearly we want to specialize on Earth observation applications. And the structuring of that, as the previous discussion showed, is quite important as to how successful that's going to be. But I think that would be a good way of opening, having a value proposition, having a description of the extent to which the activity is going to address knowledge, and to provide that as a way of moving into the discussions. I think from the work that I've seen so far and your comments and the material that you sent out, it's tended to be, okay, we have this mechanics for moving towards an open knowledge system. And that's great. I mean, you have to do that, but it would be good to have something up front that says, here's what it is, so that the community gets really excited about it. And also the funders and supporters get really excited about it. So I think working on a definition for the GEO open knowledge system that defines the value proposition, defines the goals, and it gives us a clear direction as to where it's going would be very helpful at this stage. Okay, the question is, in the case of data, what's worked, what's not worked? We've had the knowledge hub, we've had open data as a principle, and some things work well. For example, where there are connections with large public databases, where a lot of the details are worked out about how to make the data available, like the work that NASA or ESA or EUMETSAT have done. Those are databases and data systems which function very well. And I'm assuming that you have those as a platform that you can build on and rely on those services being there. And you're going to fine tune them and then make them available to user communities and fulfill part of the role that these agencies maybe look to others to give help with. In situ data collected as part of government-funded programs also works well. But in the case of the water, energy, food nexus, we've had some difficulty in getting data in as open data sets because of the fact that private sector funds a lot of the activities. And when they fund, they often put some proviso on it. They have first rights to the data, etc. And so if they fund a helicopter to go up into the mountains in Sweden to take observations of snow water depth, snow water equivalent, they want to have that data for themselves first and make that data applicable to making the predictions they have for spring runoff and for hydro production in the spring before they make it open to everybody else. So that's a limitation. And those limitations, they seem to block having the data put into the system. So we need a system that's flexible, a system that can take data that is that has these caveats on it, but can also be brought into some sort of format where it can be used by others. Because right now, it's very valuable data, but it's not getting wide usage because of the restrictions that funders put on it. That's one of the benefits of having government fund as opposed to having private sector fund. But in cases where you can't get the work done otherwise, you need private sector funding. Often researchers will go to the source holders to get their data, and they provide a certain advisory service and people get used to using it. And so having a new system on the block means that you have to have something unique about that system so people will want to use it. So think about that in your design. How are you going to make it unique? We have in our workshops with the Earth observations for WEF, we've tried to involve NASA DAC experts in the user workshops, and that's been very helpful because they've been helping to see how we can consolidate data sets so that we can bring all of the information to a particular problem that is a multidisciplinary type problem. Sorry, my voice is kind of going here. There's a question about open science versus open data. Open data is a simpler thing because data has a specific endpoint. You collect the number gets put into the system. And people will learn how to use that number. Open science is broader because there's a subjective element in interpretation of the data and the findings and the model outputs. And it requires certain expertise to evaluate what is good science, what is science that you want to have in your system, and what is science that maybe is not as thorough and maybe it's should be there as maybe part of gray literature or something, but there should be some peer review process that goes on to decide what science is brought in. Just because somebody has stated what sounds like a fact means that you can't always believe it. You have to have the validation and support for it. And so having that verification process built into an open knowledge system is important to build trust in the product. We had, I mentioned this situation already where we tried to provide some inputs from the agrivoltaic research to the Knowledge Hub, but the effort did not proceed, partly because of the constraints on the data. We didn't meet all of the requirements of the data management rules that had been laid out. But secondly, there didn't seem to be anybody who was there to help us, a representative of the Knowledge Hub, to say, here's how to resolve the questions related to data ownership. We'll take your hand and we'll lead you through the process. That didn't seem to be there. And so the investigator just kind of gave up on it after 2 or 3 months of not getting much satisfaction. The fault may have been on his side. I'm not saying it wasn't, but you need something to encourage people to commit and be involved. Okay, this is just a statement from the documents that you put out. I think good management data management is important, and those criteria are well established. How well they port to a knowledge open knowledge system is yet to be seen, I think. Although there are experiences outside of GEO where perhaps either ESA or NASA have had some experience and would be able to provide some guidance on that. The background information suggests that it'll be primarily organizations that contribute to the GEOS Knowledge Hub. That's good, but we have a lot of things in our work plan which are individual efforts by scientists, and their organizations may or may not want to play a role in getting that data moved into the Knowledge Hub. And so I think we need to ensure that we have a system that brings together all the components, brings together the organizations, the funding groups, the regional and national GEO activities, and also brings together the activities within the work plans. Because sometimes the activities in the work plans are not as tightly tied to organizations or to a national GEO as we may expect. And it's good not to make too many assumptions in that area, particularly in the pilots, which are just spinning up. I think in the case of initiatives, they have stronger links, and of course, flagships would have even stronger links. But flagships as well may find themselves in a little difficulty in making the data always available. So we have ODUC and national geos. I think that's great. New geo work plan activities. I think exploring how the principles of ODUC are embedded within the plan is important to do, because that way you're forcing the group to think about it when they're defining their work activities. And I'm not sure where we are with that, but having that as a strong link that you communicate as part of your development of the new concept that you put forward to the plenary will be a very important question. Does the focus on national regional geos mean that the individual work plan activities are of secondary importance? I don't think so, but I'd be interested in your comment on that. And the question of if the work plan activities will communicate directly to the ODOC system, or will they work through the national and regional geos? And I haven't heard much from the U.S. GEO in the recent months, and I'm just not sure how much funding they're getting from the new administration. But if you can enlighten me on that, I'd be pleased to hear about it. Questions related to the implementation of ODUC. Data integration is most effective when the data come from well-curated sources. So I think clearly the National Government Archives should be part of this. But we must recognize that national boundaries are real. If there are information types that are seen as valued resources or describing valued resources, such as water, perhaps such as food, we'll find that there's resistance to having data shared fully and completely. For example, the Global Runoff Data Center has limitations on sharing water data between upstream and downstream countries, because sometimes the upstream country doesn't want the downstream country to know how much water is being used for a particular thing at the present time. And when we get into precious metals, I think it's going to be even more complicated. NASA and other space agencies have now got their data holdings in clouds, and they have advanced software packages to assist users in accessing. I'm assuming that GEO's activities will build on these existing capabilities, but it'd be good to educate users within GEO about how to make maximum use of the services that are available. What leverage is GEO going to have on national and regional GEOs to make sure they provide services that are expected from them? Is there a capability, if a nation is supporting a particular pilot, that the pilot can go back to the nation and say, can you help us address this problem in getting this activity going with GEO, or getting this data inserted into the ODUC, or getting our science more visibility within the ODUC system? How is that going to work? And are the relationships going to be spelled out between the activities, the regional GEOs, the national GEOs, and the GEO central system? And what provisions will there be for the ODUC system to ensure a minimum data latency? When people go and want data that they know has been put into the system, will the data be there immediately, or will they have to wait until it goes through some vetting process before it's made available? So that attention to data latency and the fact that when you have a system that has certain bureaucracy associated with it, then inevitably there are going to be some delays. How do you minimize those delays? Excuse me. Some national networks are not sufficiently resourced, and they have delays in their own data verification. So it's possible that they might take 6 months or 12 months to actually say that we're confident in the data that we've collected, and we're going to make it available because we know that it's research quality. And we need to make sure that nations themselves do not introduce delays on things that are not related to the data that are relevant for the GEO project. So keeping on top of that will be a challenge, and we'll have certain resourcing requirements. Resolution of freely available satellite data is becoming more and more inadequate to meet the user needs. And so commercial high resolution data are needed. Data from Cube satellites are needed. Drone observations are needed. What is going to be the policy for getting these new forms of Earth observations into the system? And are there going to be efforts in developing these capabilities? Citizen science in situ data seem to have got some traction, but I think we need to pay attention to some other space-based observations that are important as well, Cube satellites and drones in particular. And will we be able to come to GEO and find GEO as an interpreter of Cube data satellites information, and how to put those various Cube satellites products together to form a composite in some way. And then there are questions about the provision that's being made to retain data that has maybe restrictions because of the funding support again, or because of the fact that maybe the data set goes away, the provider of the data set has turned off the satellite or has turned off the data system, and they're no longer providing inputs. Will GEO still maintain that data set and keep it up to date for users? So some lessons based on a recent study that was done looking at the U.S. CONUS and water and energy fluxes and food fluxes. And we found, and I'm sorry for the typos in this slide, I thought I'd fix the slide. We found that there were summaries covering different periods. USGS would issue a summary for water use, but it would be for a certain 5-year period, energy for another 5-year period, food for another 5-year period. And these periods did not agree or overlap. Well, they overlapped, but they didn't start and stop at the same time. So we tried using AI to try filling the gaps in information, but the assumptions made by AI did not necessarily lead to correct results. So relying on AI as being a primary means of getting out the information from the ODEC system may mean that there are errors in the information provided, and who's going to be liable for the errors? Is it the user who's decided to use AI? Is it the data servers who haven't informed AI of all of the limitations? AI will make assumptions which are based on static interpretation of some things. For example, in this case, it was the assumption that water use per unit of energy production, when water is being used for cooling purposes, would be used at a certain rate. Well, in actual fact, if over the 5-year period, the systems were being made more efficient, and the water use per unit of energy was going down significantly. And so the AI overprojected water use based on its usage of a certain start date, because it was trying to fill a gap going back to that start date. And what it projected forward in time wasn't correct. So also, we should have clear guidelines that protect the rights of researchers to publish the results before the data and science are disseminated by ODAC. So some coordination with the scientists and what they're doing in the academic environment in order to get credit for their work, and how it's being disseminated by ODAC it should be maintained. And there's a question of how the ODIC system would be reviewed. If a scientist contributes to the ODIC system with some either a gray literature type article or with some other article, is he going to get credit in the academic circles in the same way that he would get credit for submitting to an open source journal? And maybe some thought has to be given to that so that scientists would be motivated. So in conclusion, I know I spent a lot of time in the weeds here, but I think that the ODIC concept has a lot of potential. I think it's very important to build linkages between the work plan elements, between national and regional GEOs, the communication objectives of GEO, and building a robust, fully integrated GEO or Earth intelligence structure. And it's an exciting idea, exciting opportunity, and I'm hoping that we can move it forward so the whole GEO community is on side and builds towards it. And if I can help in any way, or we can help through our pilot in any way, we're ready to contribute to making ODIC happen. Thank you.
Wonderful, Rick. So much valuable input for us here. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions or comments? So Marie-Françoise, any comment or question? Yes.
You know me, I was raising hand. Well, thank you very much, Rich. I stay voiceless because it was so rich, and I think I will have to review the script and listen again your talk. It was surprising because I thought that the data sharing principles and data management principles were the first kernel for data, and the open knowledge were broadening it. In fact, what you say, for instance, that the knowledge should be made accessible with a minimum delay, comes back to the third principles of the data sharing, meaning that probably we have to review maybe these sharing principles to replace data by knowledge or something like that. I think we have to review that in the other direction. Also, it's clear that for discoverability, but also for collection and so on, again, you have emphasized that the geographical approach is relevant, but the thematic approach is very important because you have international issues, and we have more and more global challenges where the regional approach could be something that slows down the progress. So we need to have this thematic, for sure, approach. And well, I think I have to listen again your presentation and read the script and come back to you later because it was very, very interesting. Thank you very much, Rich.
Yes, Rick. Yeah, come on, get on.
Yeah, I'd welcome subsequent dialogue on it, certainly. And I'll try and clean up one or two of the slides that had little glitches on them and send the final version to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be great. Those slides will be very valuable. So my immediate observation, Rick, when you were presenting this, was that yes, we have been saying it, right? Do we need to actually update the data management principles, the data sharing and the data management principle implementation guideline? And what you are saying is yes, indeed, we need to. Open data and open access, they are already part of the open knowledge statement as we have defined it in GEO. So we need to revisit by not only because of the old implementation guideline, but because it's part of also the open knowledge statement that we want to make an implementation guideline. And it's very good. You remind us also about the entire infrastructure of GEO. So I think this is valuable input also for the working group that is working on the GEO infrastructure. You mentioned also the licenses issue, which is part of, there's a subgroup in the GEO data knowledge working group addressing licenses. And I think we will bring your observation and experience to that group. I think that will be very appreciated, that we have a concrete example to show. And so there was a lot of valuable input, Rick, that we, as Marie-Françoise, we will re-listen and look at your slides again and take that as super rich information for our further work. And I also appreciate you offering to continue the dialogue with us, because I'm sure we will get more useful guidance.
Any question from the audience or any remark, comment? So I think that we have 15 minutes left, and I would like to discuss a bit the process of work we could have, because we can see that there is very valuable expertise into the community with these two speakers, but I'm sure that in the audience here, we have many other experts that could bring their knowledge. So how can we proceed to capture your inputs? Should we draft initial draft where everyone could contribute, making a sharing document? We implement here a series of dialogue this year to push the discussions, and I have to share the slides with the different dialogues and the timing. Okay, so the idea is how can we proceed to try to capture the inputs of how much as possible from the community. So here we had a recap dialogue, and you can find here on the link that Kalamkas has shared before into the chat, the recording of the dialogue, and this is where you will be able to find the recording of this dialogue and all the follow-ups. So we organize dialogues on these dates: 19th of February, 10th of March, 19th of March, 16th of April, 23rd of April, because we want to be ready to present something at an NODOC session that will happen during the GEO Symposium last week of May. In each of the dialogue, we have some thematic approaches that can be by type of data, because we want to focus on in situ also, structured technologies and so on, licensing, capacity building, and how to measure the impact. So this will stimulate the discussion, but I think that we have to draft maybe something before, taking into account what we got today and in the previous dialogues. And how would you like to interact? Would you be ready? And it's a question to all the audience, to contribute if we share an initial document, if we make an email or a chat where you can input some thoughts. Would you like to contribute to our meetings that we have regularly with the data sharing and data management principles when we work on that? What would be the best approach for you to engage with us?
Yes. So why don't we start with asking those who are online to say yes, no, maybe. Start with that.
Yes.
To see how many would be interested in contributing to develop this implementation guidelines.
So I can see Marcus into the audience. I don't want to put the spotlights on you, Marcus, but you have led such type of work for the open knowledge. And what would you recommend to connect maybe with the community that work with you? Because I think you did the reverse work, going from implementation examples to extract the principles. Do you have already some maybe documents or resources that we could use?
I see that Alba and Carl are keen on a shared document. And Carl, I think also, and I think maybe, that giving credit to those who contribute. I think that's a given, by the way. Mm-hmm. So your name will be listed, and it's an important point. And this document will be, as you can see with the data management implementation guide, is a document that is often referred to and actually used. So it's yeah, you will get some credit and visibility. Appreciating your contributions. Yeah, Carl, you're trying to say something? You're muted. No. Blame, okay. Yeah. Yeah, Marcus, you have run such a project, but Rick, you have also, I mean, it's not an implementation guide. You have developed, or coordinating the development of in GEO, but it was a strategy document, I remember, I think it was a global water cycle strategy. Any experiences you might want to share with us that could be helpful for guiding the process in terms of process?
In the case of Space
Okay.
Agency,
Are you breaking up somewhat?
to have regional workshops in different areas. And we had about 4 regional workshops in different parts of the world. That was very effective in getting inputs. This is a broader topic, though. We had just one theme, open data, I would think. I don't know that I would be up to leading something like that, but I'd certainly be happy to participate and maybe be involved with a coordinating group, but not necessarily take the burden of leading it.
No. But you can share some experiences. So part of what you were saying, Rick, was lost because the mic was breaking up. But what we heard
in terms of the water theme,
yeah,
we had regional workshops,
yeah,
and I had a contract from NASA and also was getting some funding from the Japanese Space Agency. And so workshops in Asia, and we tied them in with other events that were taking place so that we would have a core of people there. And that was an effective means, but it did mean that there was a lot of information coming in and only a certain amount of it was relevant. So a lot of time was spent filtering out what were the gems that were useful to include.
right. Yes, and I think so. So far, we have thought of
There's perhaps a model there of consultation, particularly if you're reaching out to the work plan elements. They're getting their input, and also to the national and regional could take the lead in doing some of the coordination work. Very impressed with what Kenneth has come up with. It's great.
Yes, thank you, Rick. So far, as you saw, Marie-Françoise, we are planning to have these online events. I mean, I think that's sort of a equivalent to have work groups, at least not so efficient, maybe, but at least some equivalence to having these workshops around. And then we have a physical meeting planned for the Geneva event. There will be an ad hoc, the GEO symposium and plenary. So that's when we have an opportunity, and that's the plan, to present a draft, or so far we've reached, and then engage with the people attending that meeting physically.
So it means a fair bit of work between now and May.
Yes.
And we will be at EGU. There will be a side session where you will be able to meet some of us at the European Geospatial Union meeting in Vienna, starting of May.
Of May, yeah, beginning of May. And the GEO plenary is in end of May.
Okay, so Felipe is suggesting to publish the shared document in the Knowledge Hub in read mode, so anyone can access and follow the discussion. I think it's important to be transparent. We are a global community, a volunteer community, and we are asking efforts to to everyone, even if they can be small. But anyhow, any volunteer work has to be credited and transparent and made accessible.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rick, I remember because I was, partly contributing to that process of the strategy, the water cycle strategy, and I remember it was a lot of work, and I think that's what we have to appreciate, that this requires a lot of work. But we have a little bit more, I mean, with all this Zooming, and people today are more, say, comfortable contributing and engaging through online. So, but having that filtering, and organizing all the input in the right way, that will be, I think we have to appreciate that that's quite a bit of work. But still, I believe that at least having a first draft for discussion at the GEO plenary, I think that's feasible, and so will be an important step forward.
Mm-hmm.
So the temptation could be to do something without a lot of people, because as we say in OGCA, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But the interest here is really to build that with the community and co-design this document to make sure it's usable and addresses real needs. So even if we take the risk just to be able to make a draft, the first version this year that should be reviewed, I think it's important to go together.
Agreed. Anyone, that the floor is open, you guys. Don't be shy.
Maybe we can also invite the youth in, at least contributing or participating in these activities, and probably sharing with the youth community of practice. So, we can learn actually from seniors how to do good things.
Yes, absolutely. And also the indigenous people group. So we have now, I think after this, it's definitely clear after this dialogue that we need to engage with the national GEOs, the regional GEOs, more detailed approach to the GEO work program members. As Rick was saying, not all the link between those who are contributing to the GEO work program are not necessarily strongly linked to the formal connection to GEO. So we should also look at that. That's a potential of more people to contribute. And then, of course, the youth and indigenous people. And I think we will also use the opportunity of these days, like we have the International Women's Day, and Letvin and Kalamkas and I have already started, and maybe more, and you're welcome to join, but we are planning to have a webinar as per usual to celebrate women, and with a view of from GEO and data and knowledge in this case. And that might also be an opportunity to capture more input to the implementation plan. Diversity of knowledge is part of, and also ethics. Yeah, there are some items on the open knowledge statement that is highly relevant for the International Women's Day.
Would it make sense to have a representative from the work plan, a representative from GEO headquarters, a representative from one of the nationals, a representative from one of the regional GEOs, and have that as a steering group, sort of, and then have underneath that a little work group that actually works on putting the plan together and gets feedback from that steering group as a way to have an accelerated development of the process before the GEO plenary.
Yes, if you were breaking up a little bit, but I think you suggested to put together a steering group with representation from
a steering group,
all of the, yeah.
And then a team, a work.
Yes, a steering group with good representation across the GEO activities, and then a working group that is actually working. that is, massaging the inputs.
We have some representative from GeoSec here. We can ask them. What I can see from my experience with Geo is that very often it's the same volunteers through the different groups. And so recently we have merged the GIDTT and the Data and Knowledge Working Group because it was the same people participating in many meetings. I agree with you. It's an interesting approach, but what do you think based on your experience and do you think GeoSec could help us implement such a steering group?
Mm-hmm.
We invite the Geo work program to these dialogues. We communicate about that.
Yeah.
And the Data and Knowledge Working Group is open, and we try to engage since a long time. But I agree with you that having a kernel working more specifically on this document would be good.
So maybe a sort of a in between would be. I could argue that the the Geo Data and Knowledge Working Group is sort of a steering group for the process already, but we could say that this particular activity within this group could be strengthened with representatives dedicated to this process from the as Rick was saying, as we have discussed. So we take the leadership because I think it will be, honestly, based on my current knowledge about how Geo works now, I think it will be more efficient to do this a little bit in between, to regard our working group, the existing working group, as the steering group, and then enlarge it. What do you think? Carl and Marie-Françoise, who else is here from the regular ones?
All you need is in place already. I was just making that suggestion in the app. The organization it's moving ahead now.
Yes, yeah, but it's a very good input, Rick. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good. So we just adapt to the current situation.
Yes, I think that we have to regard our working group as the current steering group. We have to ask probably Wembo and leading the Geo work program to help us. So we have to identify that as a thread of work. I mean, to write this document and to ask Wenbo to help us enrich this steering group with more people from the work program.
Right. Yeah, we have to absolutely reinforce the connectivity so that we still seem to operate in a somewhat siloed mode, and looking for opportunities for establishing those connections and cross-fertilization, I think, is essential for actually achieving the impacts that we want, as opposed to, producing documents that folks don't even know it exists, let alone use to help inform their actions.
Yes,
I think we can write that to GeoSec as an outcome from this dialogue.
Yes, actually, and I was just reminding ourselves before this dialogue that when we were developing the data sharing and data management principles, we were actually setting. It was a specific working group who worked for quite some time. If you saw the milestones I showed, it was a working group that was set down, and there were several members from the entire Geo community, and it was an invitation from across the Geo community to be part of that working group, who worked with the document that was later approved by the plenary. But anyways, I think we are over time.
We are over time. We have to stop there. There will be a next dialogue in February. Please follow our announcements and our progress. Please, if you don't mind, we will send you any information about this steering group. Stay tuned.